Hello, or welcome back to Balance While Blooming. Today we are talking all things money, how I handle my money with budgeting, savings, how I track my spending, and just the tips and tricks that I have to share with you. And I just want to start off by saying that finances are all individual. We are all different. We are all going to be in different situations, and I'm just sharing how I do my finances and a few tips and tricks that I would recommend if you are beginning or want to get back into handling your money, taking back control, and just figuring out where you want to kind of lead this path with money in your life right now. My name's Bridget. I'm 25 years old. I'm just an average girl who is a wife, a stepmom, who works a 9-to-5, who has multiple passion projects, and this is just how we handle our financial situation. And I want to be honest, I'm not a financial advisor. I am not someone like a financial coach, anything of that matter. I do have a background in business, so I took a lot of finance classes. I know a lot around the basics of budgeting from school, but it's nothing that I'm going to push on you. Take this with whatever aligns with you, whatever you feel like is helpful, but don't take it as advice. Always, if you are struggling, go talk to a CPA, a financial advisor, someone who can help you on your journey, as I'm just sharing on the internet to give you some tips and tricks. Go and do your own financial literacy, figuring out exactly what works for you and your family and your situation. Now that we've broken all that down, I want to be honest, our finances have gone up and down. We started fully budgeting in about May in 2023. Almost a year in, we were tracking since January of last year, and then we started actually budgeting around May or June of 2023. We're almost a year into our budgeting journey, and I feel like I really have a grasp on how I handle our money, and I just want to share those tips with you. The main thing that I like to say is that there's two main mindsets when it comes to financial decisions. Now, I have a preference, but both are fine, but I want to give you my opinion on why I'm at the place that I am with my money, and that is because we are no longer just living life. We are not just getting paid, then spending it by living paycheck to paycheck, spending as much as possible, and really, I think people in this just aren't ready for the long-term money talks, which is fine. We all go through them. I think until last year, we were kind of just going with the flow. I wasn't thinking about the future, and I think that you need to be ready to make that switch of financial freedom and saving, investing, thinking about future you, and really learning all about money and the responsibilities of money and where you can go, and how the earlier that you start, you actually are going to make your life at the end easier, and that can just be little by little. But personally, I'm choosing to make that switch, and over the last year, we've really chosen freedom and empowerment in our lives with money and taking back control. And yes, we still have that balance, and here at Balance While Blooming, I always share you have to balance your wants with your needs. And I think that's so important to understand the things that you need in life. You need shelter, you need transportation, you need food. But do you really need to do takeout? Do you really need to go on all those trips? Do you really need that new piece of clothing? Do you really need to go out and drink every Friday night, right? Like picking and choosing what is yours and what you are wanting to do. And some of those, if a girls' night once a month is a want for you that you are making a non-negotiable, do that, but it needs to be budgeted in. So we're going to jump into budgeting, tracking your money, how to get started if you've never budgeted before, and really how to save and set yourself up for that financial freedom if that's your choice. And I think it all starts with that money mindset of shifting from living life and you only live once and now in the moment to I want to save, budget, and really experience life to the fullest, but also be in control of where my money's going, my long-term gain, and how I can balance the now with my future without having to struggle later in life by investing in what you want now, a little by little, and sacrificing maybe the smaller things that aren't as strong wants as what you would want in the future, or a major trip, or something that you are more excited about and want more than the instant gratification of the small items now. First things first, you need to set a budget. But how are you going to do that? And the basic definition of a budget is setting limits on your categories. So this is where areas of your life come into play. This is where every single person is going to have different areas of their life. For us, we have rent. Some people it would be mortgage. Some people have more debt, so they have credit cards. They have more expenses, utilities, many things can come into this. Now, if you haven't seen how we do our categories, check out one of our Budget With Me videos, and it shows all of our categories. Now, you'll see that every month in our spending funds that they change because it depends on that month and what we are doing. Same with our savings. But if you've never budgeted before, that is not a problem. What I recommend for you starting is make a list of all of your expenses and your income and look back at the last 3 months. This will give you a great outline of where your money goes. And when you do this, you're going to want to create a list and a spreadsheet, either on paper or on the computer. I have both, and create those categories. So maybe it's food, then you have dine out, then you have your rent, then you have your gym payments or your subscriptions. Everything is broken down. Now, for 2 months, so this is going to be about 3-month period where you're doing this. So for a month, you are setting everything up, you are looking back, you are kind of tracking along the way. And then for 2 more months, I want you to track and observe. Now, I want you to be intentional while you're observing though. I want you to cut back on your spending where you can if you feel like it doesn't always align. If you feel like you're overspending, maybe don't do that impulse buy. I want you to be intentional with your spending and be really realistic of how you can cut yourself back, but also don't cut everything out that you feel like you're losing yourself, because this budget is meant to make you feel balanced. So you need to be realistic but also intentional and find that balance in between. And then once you have a basic outline, you want to start setting amounts for those categories. And those categories are going to be up to you. Now, let's go into spending. On the screen, I'm going to put 2 different spending breakdowns, and one is Dave Ramsey and then one is the 50-30-20. Now, both of these are great systems. It depends on how your income is, how your categories are, with this kind of a breakdown of how you want to sit. Now, that being said, you want to be realistic with your spending, you want to understand your spending, and you want to figure out a system that works for you. Now, for me, both of those don't work for us exactly. I kind of make sure that I don't hit a certain number on all of our categories and make sure that I'm still saving money, spending it in our wants and in our needs. Unfortunately, in the month of February, we are not saving, so this would not work for us this month, but maybe for other months it does. And I try to stay within a certain range, but figuring out the system that works for you, I would start with the 50-30-20. I think it's the easier one to figure out, but as you want to be more complex, maybe make sure that you are finding that balance of where you should kind of be, where the experts say. But not every month will be the same, as I said, and make sure you stay in a parameter that works for you, for your best self and your long-term goals, because no matter what people say, it's still up to you. It's still your life. It's still your decision. I want you to feel confident with what you're spending, but I also want you to make sure that you have other categories such as savings and investments and just sinking funds for the rainy day, for your emergency fund, making sure that those are also in there. But most of your spending should be less than 70% with your wants and needs. That's what I try to do. It doesn't always happen, but sometimes it's 80, and that's okay because I'm still having my 20 for my savings. But I do like to stay within that realistic number. Now, tracking. Find a system that works for you. As I said, this is all going to be a learning curve. It's going to be what kind of works for your schedule, what works for you, and this is going to let you see every transaction. Now, debit cards and credit cards are the best if you want to track every single transaction. It lets you see them. It's something that at the end of the week, if that's when you decide to do it, you see every transaction in your bills or on your accounts. Now, if you have a stricter budget or you're someone who swipes the plastic too much or does not pay off their credit cards, I do recommend cash envelopes. I have seen so many people over here on YouTube doing cash envelopes. Follow some of them, as these will let you limit how much you can actually spend because you only have so much per that envelope and you can't pull from other envelopes. This is something that makes me nervous because if I saw that something that I'm trying to save has a little bit of money, I would take from it. But knowing with my credit card how much I want my credit card payment to be, it's a little bit different because I can literally subtract it from my template. And what I do is either weekly or bi-weekly check in with myself. And I fill out our income and our expenses and I evaluate where we are with our spending, and then we adjust for the rest of the month. Okay, we went out to eat too many times, so that means we need to start cooking in, and we are at a good place. We had a big grocery haul, we have the food in the house. Something like that, like where you're just really tracking and analyzing your spending so that you know where you are throughout the month and you can adjust and adapt, because life is going to happen. You are going to have those days, and just being able to shift not the budget but your spending, and then at the end you'll see where you kind of overspend and have to shift again for next month, and that's really important. Now, saving on the other end, a little bit different per the individual, again depending on what financial situation you are in now, but what I do really recommend is small cutbacks, small changes of your spending, and set a budget, even if it's 5% savings or even $20 every single month, and then work towards every single week and really start a savings account. If you don't have an emergency fund that's coming up in the next couple of weeks, I really recommend starting an emergency fund, making sure that if you are, I would say, older than 30, working on some sort of retirement plan, either a Roth IRA or a 401k, talk to your employer, see if you have one, just for long-term gains, making sure that you have some money in the bank, that you are working towards your goal, and really just being able to think of your future self. Now, what I want you to do in this is put little by little. So I want you, even if it's $5 to $10 a week or $20 a month, I want you to put that into a savings account that you do not touch. Of course, it needs to be available, but it is something that you do not look at. And how you're going to do that is by rethinking your luxuries. Coffees, new outfits, shopping, and takeout, those are not your luxuries because they are wants. But what I want you to do is ask yourself, do I really need it, and will it help my goals? Because think about you wanting to go on a family trip. That's been a big thing for you, or even a trip with your significant other, or a solo trip. Those can get very expensive. And when you need to shift your mindset to, I don't have the money to go on this trip, think about, I'm not saying that the $5 coffee is going to make it different, but for the month you may get a decent savings to be able to go on this trip or be able to do something fun, maybe closer with your family. And those little luxuries that you do, that you are shifting, is going to create a little nest egg for you. And even while you're doing your debt payoff and that you are saving money into an emergency fund, you don't want to forget about yourself. And that's where I feel like I'm a little bit different, because with savings, I know I need an emergency fund. I know I need my retirement plan, but I also want the wants in my life. I want to live my life and budget out those bigger purchases. And that's, for me, what I put part of my savings towards. And I think that's something that is a want for me. And as much as I have long-term goals financially, we also are setting short-term goals. And for long-term goals, that's retirement, house down payments, investments, all of that. But also I want you to think shorter terms. I want you to think of activities with your family, concerts, trips, right? All of those things where you have secondary as, okay, I'm ready to take that trip. We have enough money. Let's go do it. And that also gives you as much joy as the long-term goals and knowing that you are not financially in a bad situation to take those trips. If you see our budget with me's or resets, you'll see that we go on a trip at least once a quarter. Now, they're usually a weekend trip we are taking to this quarter, but it's something that we've saved up to for, or we've budgeted separately because we know that that's what gives us joy. Having that plan for your savings and having that excitement to put the money away is something that gives you purpose and it gives you joy. And when you put it into an investment account or savings account, you know where it's going to go and you feel happy about it. So really think about that when you go into your savings, not only long term, but also short term. Those are some of my tips and tricks. Honestly, start your budget. If you've never budgeted before, really track your spending, figure out what your categories are, your areas of your life that are important to you, and know that you can still spend, but do it within realistic terms. Make sure that you are following one of those systems or make a system of your own that you stick to. Every month is a little bit different, but try to stay within certain parameters that you make sure that you don't spend more than multiple months in a row. And then I also want to tell you that you don't have to listen to everything I say. I want you to save, I want you to be able to spend, and I want you to be able to invest into your future and bloom into the person you want to be. That's what we talk about here. But I also know that everyone's in a different situation. I may look like I have it all together, but not all the time. Sometimes we have some huge money issues, and sometimes we have to pull from our savings. Sometimes we are not financially spending in the right directions. I mean, I am very open with our spending. You guys see it every month, but I am one person, and I want you to know to not judge other people for their financial situations. They may not be spending within their means. They may be struggling. So don't compare your situation to others. Honestly, think about your financial situation and then how you hold yourself in the world. I want you to be confident, not only mentally, physically, but also financially in life. And knowing that you can be confident to spend where you need, able to do the things you want, you need to know where you are at financially. And remember, I'm just an average person showing what works for us, our life, and how we handle our money. And I'm choosing freedom and empowerment to take control on my finances. Now, keeping track of my spending and savings with a budget is what makes me know that I'm actively living the life that I'm trying to achieve, that I'm trying to bloom, that I'm creating freedom, and that I want to be financially free. And that is where I'm balancing my life, and I hope you guys can too. So make sure that you are following your money path and your life path. And as always, keep balancing all the areas of your life, including your finances, and bloom into your best self. If you want my budgeting template, DM me on Instagram or email me, which are both linked down in the description. And I hope you guys like this video. Please subscribe. I do personal development, time management, planning your life, and so much more. Keep blooming, keep balancing your life, and I will see you guys soon. Bye, guys.